Well, let me tell you who do know something. Deshaun Watson, he knows something.
Absolutely. Let's set this up the right way. As always, when we talk about the Cleveland Browns, our Browns Talk is brought to you by Lincoln Electric. Lincoln Electric is now hiring for great jobs out there in Euclid, Ohio, right off the highway on the, what's that, Steve, 222nd exit? Can't miss it. Got a big windmill out there, great big old factory. They do a lot to help the community.
I'll be out there.
So Deshaun Watson spoke to the media, of course, at the beginning of voluntary workouts. And, you know, he was asked about the contract situation with Lamar Jackson. And he was asked his thoughts on Jalen Hurts now being the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And we went through Mary Kay Cabot's article of Cleveland.com, and we found a couple quotes. So we're going to throw those at you all and get you all's reaction on what he had to say. Steve, let's start with the Lamar Jackson. I think it's 126. Or you can take tag board forward till we get it.
And here we go.
And bow. Highest paid players. Now look at this. $51 million for Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers is at 50.3. Now this is kind of crazy. Then you get down to 46.0. That's where Deshaun Watson is. And the best quarterback in the game, Patrick Mahomes, is at 45. Guys, when you take a look at this thing, it seems as if like Deshaun Watson came back and everybody got paid. It's kind of crazy how much that guys are starting to get up in that era, in that level. But now the Deshaun Watson contract is small now. We ain't heard nobody talk about 230 in a minute because other guys get.
Well, it's not small, but you know, when I was at the owners' meetings a couple weeks ago, I was talking to some NFL people who felt like I'll take it back to Lamar. The Ravens missed their window. Like everyone is putting this on Lamar. But, like, the Ravens had opportunities earlier on to get something done with him before these numbers started escalating.
Didn't see it going that way.
And basically, the earlier you get in and the earlier you do this, the better the deal is going to look. And I would use the Josh Allen deal more than the Deshaun deal. The Josh Allen deal at the time, some people around the NFL were like, oh, my God, what are the Bills doing? And now when you look at the Allen deal, it ain't that bad anymore.
Light.
Because it just keeps going up and up and up. So if you know you've got something – get it done early. The earlier you get it done, the better it's going to be on the team side of things.
Well, the Ravens didn't really forecast the future. They didn't see which way it was going. So they're like, we're not paying you anything. I'll take you back to the thinking like this. There's always going to be an owner or a set of owners that don't care. They're always going to push the needle higher, right? And that's going to set the mark, and then the player's going to come behind that, and that's going to be the new mark. And that's what happened with Deshaun Watson. Now, they had a window with Lamar Jackson to get it done in Baltimore. They did not do that. They're going to either pay the price now, or they're going to move on. They're going to fish or cut bait. It's one of the two. This is where you are. And it's funny. People run around here, get mad at Jimmy Haslam because he paid Deshaun Watson, which opened the door to the other thing. Let me tell you something. Have you seen these football players in their 50s and 60s?
Guys looking bad.
Crippled.
Oh, my God.
Can't walk.
I went to an event. My daughter was getting recruited at Pittsburgh. I went to an event. Tony Dorsett and them were all there. I walked in. I was like, oh, my God.
Can't walk.
I was like, what happened to y'all?
It's
bad. And that money there is an insurance marker down the line because you're paying the price. What do they call it when you pay up front now? You call it, you're paying it forward right now.
Yeah, or
paying it forward right now.
Or since I've been taking L's, messing around with these houses, that's your earnest money.
Yeah, that's your earnest
we
money.
need that earnest money down.
I was just telling you, man. I felt like this. For what they were laying on the line, they were severely undercompensated because you look at the money; it's a big number. You don't see what they look like after 55.
Yeah,
this is. So you get the stories and tidbits about the CTE and this. See the ones that are just walking around here.
I mean, and the only ones that's getting more is the quarterbacks. You take a look at the rest of the guys, the receivers, DBs, defensive end. Other than that, not really. You had Lamar Jackson's quote and what he said, or Deshaun Watson on Lamar Jackson. I hope he gets what he wants. Like I said, I never talked to him about it, so I can't speak on his business side. But he's a great player. He's going to, and he's going to be. Yeah. When you look at that, I look at it like this. You look at Jalen Hurts at the top of the food chain, right? And so if you're Lamar Jackson, you start to think like, so hold on. I'm seeing Daniel Jones at 40 million. Okay, now there's a Deshaun Watson somewhere in about 46. Now Jalen Hurts is now the top dog on the food chain, and it's almost like he has to be looking at him like, hold on, is he as accomplished as I am? Yeah. Does he have the hardware that I got?
No.
Does he have? And now you automatically look at it. Before it was, we're not going to give Lamar Jackson no money because he's a running quarterback. We're not going to give Lamar Jackson no money because I think that the way he plays is not sustainable. Well, Jalen Hurts is the same kind of quarterback. Now that you got a same quarterback that is running the ball, that is still doing that and putting himself in harm's way. He hasn't had the injuries. But do you think now Lamar Jackson looks at it like, well, you just gave the running guy and Kyler Murray $50 million?
Well, let's wait and see after the draft if there's action on Lamar, because he's out there for anyone right at this point. Anybody can go give him an offer. So it's not just the Ravens.
Yeah.
So this is any team wants a quarterback, step right up.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious to see after we get past the draft, after some of these teams with some high picks who don't want to forfeit a pick in this year's draft, let's get beyond the draft and see if there's a little bit more movement on the Lamar market.
I think you did. You bring up something. We'll read this first. It's definitely good to be able to see him get an extension. He deserves every penny, and all the other guys that are up next deserve it too. That's Deshaun Watson talking about Jalen Hurts.
He's saying the correct thing, right? Yeah. Like, first of all, it's always about when you get a payday. It's all about leverage. You're only good as your last game. So Jalen Hurts is coming off a Super Bowl performance, played very well. He had them by the you-know-what. They were going to have to pay. The $40 million is now the going standard here for the quarterback, starting quarterback that on a winning team. That's the going freaking standard now, right? And it's funny because I'm reminded, Jason, of, remember when Magic signed that contract with the Lakers, $1 million a year for 25 years, and everybody thought, oh my God, Magic Johnson got $1 million a year. And then the new standard came out, and somebody was like, somebody got that in like a 3-year period. Yeah. And Magic was like, went back to the Lakers, like, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
Because somebody is always out there to set the new standard. And when they set the new standard, the league, by hook or crook, go kicking and screaming sometimes, but they ultimately adjust to the new standard.
And that's how it should be. The players should want guys to leap them, because that just keeps raising the bar for everybody else. If you're here and everybody else is coming under you, that's a problem when
some people are selfish.
I'll go back to when Jim
Thome
was here, and the players union was putting a lot of pressure on Thome to take the Philly offer, because they get on these guys and tell them, like, listen, you have to clear the way for the guys that come behind you, just like the guys ahead of you forge the path. And the union looks down on guys who take less in any sport. To stay in one spot. If you take less, that's a problem by union standards, because they want to keep elevating
I mean, when you have honest brokers, that's the case. Sometimes, let me be clear. I'm a union guy, right? No problem with it. Be clear, though, sometimes they're not working in your best interest either, right? Sometimes you have to make a decision that's for your best interest. Yeah. And sometimes they're diversely at odds with one another.
And like, so let's take a look at, you say you brought up the union. If you look at it from a perspective, okay, the union wants those guys to take the most money, maximum money. Don't you believe, if that was the case, that if after Deshaun Watson, shouldn't the union been sitting down with the rest of the quarterbacks coming up and saying, look, this is an opportunity for you guys to set yourselves up, but this is an opportunity for you guys to set all quarterbacks up. Deshaun started from fair, foul, whatever the case may be. He got the contract. It's not about whether you think he deserves it or not. But you next guys can come up, the next 2 or 3, and if you guys all put your heads together and say, we are only signing deals for guaranteed deals, don't you think that would have put pressure on the NFL to say, we might not give everybody deals like that, but quarterback position, that's the position you give guaranteed money to?
Well, you're out here thinking that there's a working relationship between the union and all the players.
I would think so.
Some of them dudes you don't even know them. You don't even talk to them.
That's crazy.
Right? Some of the people, I guarantee you, some of them don't even talk to them, right? Because you're talking about the player is the CEO of himself,
right?
Of his own company, right? He has his team around him and his own little board members around him, and we only need you when we need you. And when I don't need you, I don't need you, right? Because that's how and it works both ways. They play it the same way. I'm telling you, man, there used to be like the president of the Players Association in the NBA, man. I can't tell you the number of times that we had interaction with them, you know? So it don't work like that. So you would think it would work differently because we'd be strategically working together. Yeah. It ain't like that.
I remember a few years ago
in
Major League Baseball, the Indians player rep was like a nobody. It was like it was the job nobody else wanted, so they gave it to the guy that was low man on the totem pole. And then the NBA sort of flipped that when you saw
that
Chris.
That became recent.
Yeah, when Chris Paul and LeBron and like the names held the power positions within the union. And I know I'm talking about different sports, but I'm just trying to illustrate how different eras view the role of the union and the importance of the union in these things.
The only difference is this, Jason. Because I played with some pretty powerful people. They never flexed. When you have the juice, you have to flex. And not just flexing for yourself. You're flexing to bring the masses behind you, right? And he never flexed. That's why I kudos to LeBron, Chris Paul, that era player, because they had the power. And when I say flex, that means bring them to the table. You had to listen to them, right? Now listen, Mike never doing that. They used to get a job to the low man on the totem pole. Yeah. It was a job nobody wanted to be the player rep.
Well,
you didn't even get a free trip, I don't think.
When you're dealing with the NFL, it just seems as if, people talk about empowerment. It's a trickle-down theory. Like, if you thinking, if I'm looking at it and I see Deshaun Watson, and I think Lamar Jackson saw this, he's looking at it like, hey, I feel like this is they're kind of in a position where they're a little weak. If I step up and say, I'm not going to take no less money than he got, he's looking at the guys above him like, hey, I know what's coming back. I got Jalen Hurts. I know I got Joe Burrow. He's a progressive thinking type dude, right? If I can fall in line and get a guaranteed deal, then we get Jalen Hurts to the table. Then we get a Joe Burrow to the table.
Well,
now we may be able to change some things.
You're talking logically. When I look at sports, the strongest union I see out here is the baseball union. Mm-hmm. They move in force, right? Followed by the NBA players. They now start to move in force. The NFL, from the outside looking in, they have a lot of people they always pick off, and then it's just like the last scenario when it was coming up about when they were doing this thing with Watson and all the turmoil from last summer. Right. And I kept saying, who is speaking for the collective, right? There's really nobody speaking for the collective, right? And so they always have had a tendency, and I'll tell you why they have had a tendency. Because they don't have guaranteed contracts. They get this money up front, and that's how they peel them off. I'm going to give you this money up front, I'll peel you off, don't say nothing. And the other thing I'll tell you, this earpiece keep coming out, but I'll tell you this. The other thing I always hear is, and not hear, but see is this. They will get you back in the NFL. Them owners they got long, they like elephants. Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm waiting for you. I'm going to get you. Go ask your boy. Go ask your boy Kaepernick. They're waiting for him. He ain't seen the light of day since.
And I think, and Jason, you tell me you hang around, or you've had an opportunity to talk around some of these individuals, given the fact that these are NFL owners. I literally think, and I didn't think that they would be this petty, but I think that they literally was upset that Lamar Jackson would have the audacity to say he's going to show up and negotiate his own stuff.
With his mama.
It all no matter. It seems like it's just a principle because, like you said, anybody can get him right now. If he was available, he's available. They can offer him an offer sheet right now.
Which is why I wonder if this is going to change after the draft, because I don't think they're holding the fact he's trying to negotiate for himself against him.
This is punishment.
I think they're looking at him as it's a bad decision. But a team that needs a quarterback, I mean, look at the teams that were lining up for Deshaun. And there's a lot more baggage with Deshaun than there was with Lamar.
So why is it not? We'll drill down there. With everything that Deshaun Watson has, right? He has the year where he sat out. He's had some issues back and forth with his own owner and general manager. He sat out a year. He had the allegations. He had all these things, 11 games, all the suspicions hanging over. How is it that teams, 4, 5, 6 teams, interested in Deshaun Watson, but not necessarily the same for Lamar Jackson?
But Deshaun controlled that because he had a no-trade clause. So Deshaun controlled the whole thing. Regardless of what was going on off the field, Deshaun controlled where he was going to go next. And Lamar doesn't have that. The Ravens really are still in control because they can match any deal that comes to him. So teams around the league don't want to do Baltimore's bidding and put a contract in front of him that Baltimore's just going to match. That's why I think we have to wait until after the draft. If we get beyond the draft and teams still are not coming for him, I don't know what to make of that. Like we need to get to that point and see, because I just think there's going to be more interest in signing him to an offer sheet once teams don't have to give up their first-round pick in this draft.
Well, I just say this is the retribution is coming, and so to me, because the writing's on the wall. You saw the list of who was making the money. I mean, you could easily just pay him the money, and you could justify it by saying the rest of these guys got this money, so we slide him in here, right? You could be done, right? They're not doing that.
So
they're not doing it, and so I say this: because again, it appears to me from the outside looking in, there's some retribution coming here, and so they're gonna make him, because the tone is bad. You walked in here and told me what you're gonna do. Then you walked in here with your mama and told me what you're gonna do. And I'm like, you're not gonna tell me. That's how they do. You're not gonna tell me. I'm gonna tell you what it is.
Can we get that list? Can we get the list, the ranking system? Because I'm with you. I'm kind of confused. If they really wanted to get it done today, they could just slot him somewhere in between that.
And so here you go.
So today
But he's got to sign the deal.
No, what I'm saying, if they gave him
Here, Jason, the numbers they have put on the board that are publicly out here don't even compare to where these top 5 are. Right? They don't.
It was common knowledge, I'll put it that way, at the Combine. Lamar had told the Ravens, 5 for 250, every penny guaranteed, and don't call me until you say yes.
Yeah,
There's no negotiation.
We all talk tough.
So he said 5 for 250.
But he's not negotiating. Like, Baltimore is privately telling people there is no negotiating going on. Like, in a negotiation, both sides are talking. He's saying 5 for 250, or I'm not picking up the phone. Don't call me until you say yes.
Here's the deal. If you do that, say, okay, I'm gonna tell you what I have on, because they don't have nothing to lose. This is what I'm gonna put on the table. I'll put on the table today. It can be 2 weeks from now, a month from now. I'm gonna put this on the table. They have a number that they want. They may not publicly say what the number is, but they know where they'll go.
Somebody said 200. It was a 200. Somebody said it was known that 200 million was on the table, and then that 200 million he turned down because he said he wanted the 250. Now.
That number's gone down now because Jalen took less.
I don't know
of guaranteed money.
Now,
you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Now,
anything after the guaranteed money, let me just say this. Anything after the guaranteed money is phantom money. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's phantom money, right? Because you may or may not get it.
Well, if you stay healthy and you're a quarterback, you're going to get it.
Well, that's what I said. You may or may not get it, right?
Barry said at the Combine, Andrew Barry said this is not going to be the new standard of contract.
You know what the good thing about NBA money is?
Guaranteed.
It's all guaranteed.
That's a great.
You don't have nothing on me. You're not going to pull the wool up under my eyes, right? You're not going to do it. And for the life of me, I don't understand why the football players don't address that.
I don't think. Before we get to you, I just don't think. In general, I think that if you would have, Lamar Jackson would have this is even beyond Lamar Jackson. This is just something for the football players. The same way that the owners talk and get together and stand on something, y'all might want to get together and start standing on something. Like, and it has to come from the quarterbacks. It can't come from a D tackle or some random linebacker
or the center.
Or center. That ain't gonna get it done. If you guys want to fight for guaranteed contracts, it's going to come from that room, from those individuals there at the highest in the food chains. And I think, and I'll tell you what, I think you can get a couple allies. But if I'm Jalen Hurts and I'm a second-round pick, and you sitting here arguing for the guarantee, and then they got they gonna give me $50 a year? Sorry, I'm gonna take that.
This is a great conversation so far. And Brad said something earlier, how Chris Paul and LeBron James was able to take control and kind of shift the way things were done. I found an article in the New York Post. This is dated March 18th, 2023. And this is NFLPA.com director, DeMore Smith, and he writes that owners take fully guaranteed contracts because they are better for the players and than they are for the owners, which we know that. He continues, as such, these contracts will shift control to the player, allow them to benefit the most from the arrangement, and limit the control of the owner and the team. So I guess to add to the conversation, do you all think that the quarterbacks in particular are willing to step up, step out, and kind of go against the grain to break the barrier for everybody else going forward?
Come on, Earl, they're not going to do that. Why they're not going to do it? Let me tell you why they're not going to do it. All right, it's real simplistic. They're the ones getting peeled off. They're getting the cheese.
They getting broke off.
The crumbs are coming their way.
They're the ones getting broke off.
They're the first ones to get broke off. So when they get broke off, tendency in this world is like, I'm saying nothing. Why should I say something?
Yeah, why would you?
I'm not going to do that, right? Because there's no reason why that if you had your Brady's and your top people at the front of the ticket, right, they couldn't walk away from them. It'd be a PR nightmare. But you never see Brady and them out front, right? Why not, Jason? Because they already got peeled off.
They're making their money.
They got peeled off. And so they like, quietly, y'all go out there and fight. Let me know how we doing, right? We ain't doing that.
I think one of the things that's missed in it is like from a standpoint of highest paid quarterback, like is Jalen Hurts worth $51 million?
If somebody's willing to pay it. You're worth what someone will pay you. That's
right.
your worth. If someone will pay it to you, then you're worth it.
It's like when you sell a house.
Yeah.
What's your house worth? Whatever they'll write a check for.
That's right.
That's what it's worth.
So
we sold our house in the pandemic, and I felt bad for the people that bought it because I'm like, it ain't worth that. But you want to put an extra zero on it.
That's what it's worth
Here
today.
You go.
That's what it's worth today.
that is
what it's
crazy.
worth today.
I don't think it's not going to change unless those guys did it. Now, I always look at it in terms of what the NFL is thinking about it. And you know how it's just so funny? The NFL just moves right along, right? Like the NFL does not.
Nothing stops the machine. The pandemic couldn't bring down the NFL.
It just moves right. Like it's crazy.
You're not gonna bring down that machine. You're just not. And it's okay. I mean, I'm just saying here. I love the NFL, right? I do, right? I wait for the Sundays, right? You know me, I'm doing yard work for the Browns because they're going to force me to do yard work while I'm yelling, right? I love that, right? The players, the way the system is set up, and I have to think at some point, they seem to be okay with it. They like the way it is. I don't know if that works, right? But I will tell you this, unless your top people come to the front, and I'm not just saying to rob somebody, to level the field as much as possible so that we all can get it. Because here, be clear, the NFL making a lot of money here, right?
They got it.
Like, hey. So when you talk about new stadiums downtown Cleveland, the question going to be, what you putting in? What you putting in?
They got it.
Right. And this has been, so you make, because you can't be the old school owner. I told you that. The art models, they gone, right? You need big ticket dollar people now and people behind them to own these teams. And then guess how they get rewarded? It probably is not in the day-to-day operations like you with the Cowboys make a lot of merchandising money and TV money or New York market. You get paid, they get paid, and shareholders get paid when they sell.
Yeah.
So you buy here and sell there. Mm-hmm. That's when everybody gets paid, right? So they know that. It's a long-term annuity investment for them. Mm-hmm. They're just having fun doing it because they know at the end you're going to get some paper out of this thing. Why do you think people be jumping on like magic now? I come in for a meal.
Hey, listen,
I'll turn that meal into 5 meal, right?
I tell you what, man, it's always a new generation, new crop of cats coming through. Everybody's getting rich. And so we're going to transition to the Browns in the draft.
Let's do it.
And the funny thing about the draft used to be the Super Bowl here. We still talk about it, but we really don't talk about it with the depth that now that we have Deshaun Watson and the goal now is transition. We're in the process of the business where, we're not just trying to maintain, we're actually trying to expound on what the business is and make it profitable. Let's move to the draft.